Our viewers, wherever you're watching us all over the world, welcome to this special edition of TVBakwetu. I'm your presenter, Patrick Chilufya. I'm based in Sussex, United Kingdom, and my guest or my fellow uh, guest is Mr. Nason Bimbe. He's also based in Sussex, United Kingdom. Today we've got a special topic, and I would love you to start sharing all the pages so that today we're going to talk about the theme of this program is the UPND membership still in alignment or in tune with the party manifesto. Before we go in any further, I would love to introduce my guest or my fellow the person I'll be discussing this program with. Uh, Mr. Bimbe, can you please introduce yourself?
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. Chilufya, and thank you very much to everyone listening. My name is Nason Bimbe. I am a software engineer by profession, and I am currently working as more in the digital knowledge space.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bimbe. Before we do anything, I need to play one video and one audio, and then we can take it over from there. And just a disclaimer, we're not going to talk about any individuals today. This program is about observations, our observations and analysis of Zambian politics, and especially the discord what happening in the UPND government at the moment. We're not going to talk about individuals. We're not going to talk about removing somebody or appointing somebody. What we're going to talk about is our analysis and observation. So let me play this video, but we are not going to talk about this individual. It's just an example of some of the things happening and what has prompted us to have this program today. Thank you.
I don't care. Jordan, I don't care, my brother. If you want to chase me from UPND, today, chase me. Today, chase me from today. Chase me if you want, chase me. When I was telling Warungu, here, I'm not in the Pachpuna, castigating Warungu, Mwanem Chitapuleis, Mwanem Tasha, you are fearless. Today, because I've attacked your ego, you are saying I'm losing it. Today, because I've attacked your ego, you are saying I'm losing it. When I was attacking Marungu, you used to praise me. Heartless people. We are not talking about being rewarded. Even a call, my brother, even a call, calling someone, sorry. Even if you church umuntu ngalo muchechi, abo apepanako, bala mukumutandalira. Muchechi, church yo nyumulenda, bala mukumutandalira. Even a company, when a person is sick who works for that company, they will visit that person. So I don't care. Whether they are negative comments, I don't care. If you want to chase me today from UP today, Tanzania will be in delay law. W1 Tanzania law. If you want to chase me, will I die? No. chula abantu bamuchulira abachulira abantu bachula. Not even a call. Not even a call. Mwefa abantu bafe kuri pipi kukopa byoto. Bade before daira bitero ilerusho kuba mu buteko ifire yakwata ama programs. Yabili. One program is for the whole nation. And that program is very much important. One program, party in more position, program with number one is for the Zambians, all Zambians. The number two program is for the people in the party. You cannot run away from it. And this is where you are being misled by PF supporters. When you go to share some government, because if in PF, they are now saying, no, an official, a losing candidate should not be supported. But let me say, Ababa candidate, party 2026, background. They will go with people. That's why you should take care of them. Which form of politics? You should take care of them because where they will go with people. They will go with people. I've not forgotten about issue about Chifita. Suspend Mr. Chifita. It's not fit.
Yeah, I hope that video was very clear. I just wanted to play one video, and so that you people, there's so many videos going around. There's so many WhatsApp groups which have been formed. Some are saying Secretary General should go. This one shouldn't do that. There's just so much discord, agitation, anxiety within the UPND party, which I'm a member, which I supported. Yeah. But then we're not going to talk about the individual who was talking in the video or anything. All we're going to do is we're going to make our observations and our analysis. But I need to make a disclaimer before we go into the program. This program is our personal view, myself and my guest. And we're not representing the view of UPND, the government, or even Bakwetu TV. Yeah, we interested in this topic because we are Zambians. Firstly, we are UPND sympathizers. I'm a card-carrying member of UPND. And these views also are based on our analysis and observation of the Zambian politics. And also, we are also trying to contribute, this is very important, to the discord currently happening in UPND based on our observation. And then some people might ask, this is a business show. Why are we talking about politics? As you all know, that in for any country to prosper, politics are very important. Politics play a very important role. Politics is the building block of any prosperous nation. Yeah, so today, what we're going to talk about today is what is causing the current anxiety, agitation by some section of UPND member. What is the way forward to resolve the agitation and anxiety? Then thirdly, do the UPND membership still understand, in brackets, in tune with the core mission and vision of the party, by extension of the government it has formed? Here is my synopsis. In the one-party state, there was some sort of separation between business people and the public leadership via the leadership code. During the first year of MMD, after lifting some of the restrictions imposed by the code, private business started to thrive. However, some public leaders began to connive with the private entities to get government contracts in the later years of MMD. PF took it to another level where a lot of public officials suddenly became business people, but alas, that business is just tenderpreneurs. I bet 80% of the MPs somehow fall into this category. If all we do is this, how can we then build a productive private sector that can create innovative products, services that alleviate our people's pain points, and to an extent create jobs? Why? Because the public leaders via access became both suppliers and buyers. Could this behavior of public leaders taking advantage of access to be to be the cause of problems and agitation amongst the UPND members? Is this question of it's also time to eat healthy as we try to build our country? Now, what I would do is I'll bring in my guest, and I'll ask him the first question. Mr. Bimbe, do you think the UPND membership still understand or in tune with the core mission of the party and the extension of the government it has formed? Over to you, Mr. Bimbe.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chilufya. First of all, let me just say one thing. I think what we as sympathizers of UPND and what we've learned and what we've seen is to help create an environment that will help every other citizen of the country to really thrive, to create that basis. As long as you're a Zambian, you are able to create value for yourself and your family under the same times of the challenges. I think that was that was my understanding. If we look at the UPND manifesto, and it's very, very clear. But what has happened is a lot of things happened in the past years, as you have mentioned, from the Kaunda time to the MMD to the PF. There is this idea that you can only thrive when you are in government. And that, I believe, is what is causing the agitation. And I think the president at one time mentioned that we've managed to clear all these cadres. We don't want our members to be the new, cadres again in the markets. And I think that's what that was the fight, is to try and make what became normal, but was abnormal, to be normal again. And I would want to also believe that probably the president is really on a very, very focused trajectory whereby probably there is a mismatch between some section of the membership and what the goals of the president is all about, is making the country prosper through creating that environment that we all need. I do appreciate the situation that members want to benefit, but I'm very cautious of this word of it's time to eat. My question is, eat what? Because if we go back and look at what was happening during the PF, for example, you've mentioned entrepreneurs. We can also go down to the cadres in the markets, cadres in the bus stop. Now you go back and ask yourself, what value does that create? That will create jobs, other than increasing the costs to the whatever products and services that are being, middlemen putting themselves in. And who suffers is the general public. That's one thing. The other thing that I would also love to caution is the idea that parties win elections. Parties don't win elections. It's only the parties that are in power that lose elections. Why? Because people who vote, and I would want to believe that the majority of the 2.8 million, I don't think UPND has gotten that membership. I can give you an example. For example, in the United Kingdom, they were choosing a new prime minister via the Conservative membership. The population of the UK is over 60 million. But if you look at the paid up members of the Conservative Party, they are just 250,000, right? So what it is that the majority of the voters, all what they want is a fair society, a quiet society. They live their lives, they make their livelihood. And the party that promises to give them that is the party that wins elections. Or rather, the party doesn't do those things, they lose elections. And for the UPND, really, they need to think hard about that. The moment citizens start believing that you are favoring someone because of party affiliation on certain things openly, like what used to happen, that's the day probably the UPND will die. I can bet that. And that's the reason why PF lost the election. It's not that they were not stingy. They had a lot of money. Their cadres were very powerful. They were well, handsomely paid. They were given contracts, but they still lost. Why? Because the majority of citizens don't want that. The majority of citizens want an environment where, they can do their business, they can compete for jobs, they can compete for contracts, they can take their children to school, they can have medicine in the hospitals, they can do all sorts of those things without having that party affiliation. So in essence, the president, I think, that's what I'm saying, the president is at another level. He's trying to create that environment. But unfortunately, the abnormal was so much ingrained into our system. We can see videos of the PF former SG openly talking. And today there's something going on that even high commissioners, ambassadors were contributing to the party. So what was that contribution for? Was it a bribe? Was it because I've been given a job? That's not the way it's supposed to be. Jobs should be given for competence. As long as the recruitment process is quite transparent, I don't think it's a bad thing. So probably that's what I can say on that point.
Before I bring in the two other guests to comment on the same question, that's what we're going to be doing. I'll be posing the question on you, and then other two viewers, two guests, Bakwetu guests, to comment on that. I've got two follow-up questions for you. One, do you think UPND membership, including myself, don't understand the bigger picture that the president has? They only understand the smaller picture? That's one question. Then two, other people are saying we need to eat. You saw that comment. Because we are freedom fighters. And then other people are saying, I think there needs to be fairness, because all the suppliers at the moment, most of them are PF suppliers. Why can't we balance? We also fought for the same thing. We fought for PF to come out so that you can balance the game. So do you think people in UPND who have got the capacity to supply also need to be given a chance to do that? Over to you.
The first question is, are people losing the bigger picture? I think it's a small section, probably they were in the wrong fight. I think Laura Mitty at one time put it plainly. It's not about a fight where you win and get the spoils of war. The fight was to rescue the country from what was happening, so that, as I said earlier, so that everybody lives a normal life. That's one thing. The second thing, freedom fighters being rewarded. Of course, they should be rewarded, but it has to be done in a particular way. I might come back to what I think, what that reward could look like later on, probably when we start looking at what can they do.
Yes.
In terms of contracts, again, it's this belief that what are contracts for anyway? So to me, it sounds like it's more of looking for a nail because you've managed to buy a hammer or something like that. They ought to be business cases, but of course, the procurement system needs to be looked at, right? In countries, even in South Africa, where I do some procurement, there is a database of procurement organization that the government can procure goods to. They do their due diligence. There are certain criteria that you have to follow, that you have to satisfy. And based on that, then you can, get into that contract because you've already specified what you're specialized in. They've already checked you out, what you can do. And that then will avoid this business of, oh, is it PF? Is it not PF? As long as there's that transparency, I've got no problem with that. But it's just the procurement system needs to be fixed.
Mr. Bimbe, hold that piece first. I'm thinking here is the PF really messed up things. They moved a notch higher of confusion. They were just giving contracts to anybody. As long as somebody is a PF member with a briefcase, they will give that person a contract. And we had a situation where people couldn't supply. Some of them could even supply air. We've got a situation now where somebody cannot supply ARVs. And then who is to blame? The government. There was a tender of bicycles. You heard about it.
Yes.
It has lapsed. There was nobody to supply, but the tender was issued.
Yeah.
So do you think that tender processes, do you think should be on merit, whether it's UPND or
to be honest,
or PF?
To be honest, I think the president mentioned that there are two criteria to follow. It's about price, it's about the quality, it's about delivered on time. So those three criteria are all right. What we used to see is middleman. Today, someone is supplying poles. The next day is building a toilet. The next day is supplying ventilators. So where is the specialism? So that tells you that supplier is not a real supplier, basically. They can't create jobs. They're just there in the middle, adding costs to the very thing. For example, if you supply things like medical equipment, ventilators, you need to have an after-sales thing afterwards, customer service. How do you fix those things? How do you train the people that are going to use those things? You can't just bring them and dump them. And I bet if you go in most of this government department in Zambia, they will find equipment piled up because somebody suddenly decided he knows where to get this big hammer. He just needs a nail. So they've ordered things, they procured things that are necessary. So there's no business case on that plan. So again, this is all about this whole procurement system needs to be really looked at. I'm not of the view that one of the qualifications should be what color of your t-shirt is. No, it should be, can you deliver what is being asked to deliver? And can you provide the after service? Can you provide the after sales? Can you be liable if something hasn't happened? We've heard of, contracts where nothing was supplied. So it's that kind of thing. So the bottom line is about fixing the procurement process.
Okay, thank you so much. Our fellow guests, fellow Bakwetu guests, Barbara, welcome. Oscar Mpombo, welcome. Mukelebai, welcome. We're talking about, I hope you know what we're talking about here. We're talking about the discourse that is happening in the UPND. We're going to talk about a number of issues here. So we've just started. So my plan here is I'll ask Mr. Bimbe, who is the guest. You guys are co-guests. And then once he answers that question, I would want you guys maybe to comment or even ask him another question. And we need to move fast because we've got a lot to talk about today. And tomorrow we have to go to work. But Barbara, we're talking about is the UPND membership lost that vision, or are they in alignment or in tune with the bigger vision or mission of UPND? That was our first question. What do you think about that, Barbara?
Thank you so much, Patrick, and good evening, everybody, and good evening, all the viewers as well. What I can say, in first place, UPND is the first social media government that we've had in Zambia. So when they were campaigning, when we were all campaigning for UPND, we were extremely visible because we were online, we were defending the party online, left, right, and center. However, once they've been in government, there's been a bit of a disassociation with the online information that is going out to the people right at the bottom within the party. Not because there are no structures, the structures are already there, it's just the presence. And then I'll quote a historical fact of what happens within politics everywhere in the world. These things used to happen about 100 years ago. I think it was with the Emperor Augustus. When he went into power, he was the favored guy amongst everybody else because the one before him was really terrible. And the youth really loved him and they thought, oh, this guy is going to bring change, is going to supply food and everything for the young people within young Rome. The emperor came into power. His vision was to build a Rome that we see today. At the time when we're talking about, Rome was a dilapidated place. There was no sewerage. There was no mortuaries. The dead bodies were just stinking all over the place. He had a vision of providing a Rome that we see today. He was so much under pressure that he had to curve in to make the youth start doing the gladiators. Now, 100 years on now, it sounds so ridiculous that you can make young people start battering each other so that they can be happy, but that's what they did. The same thing is happening and playing before our eyes in the politics of today in Zambia. We have a youth that is unemployed, that had no access to money, that when we talk about how people can do procurement, how they can access CDF, you're talking about a certain class of people who may have a certain leverage, a certain amount of money, a certain amount of education, but the people are talking about don't have any of that. So they forever feel left out. Whenever something is happening, even just simple things like, oh, we are inviting the diaspora in Livingstone, the poor people are watching that and thinking, oh, so this is how life can be if you're included. So they feel left out. So what I think we need to do as UPND is a suggestion is to first
So
go down.
hold your peace. We're gonna come to that. We're gonna
Okay,
come to that. We've got a question on that. What's the
okay,
solution? What's the solution? So you're gonna come to that.
okay.
Thank you so much. Mr. Oscar Mpombo, you know what we're talking about. We're talking
Thank you
about
very
before you come in, we're talking about the discord, the anxiety, the agitation within a section, not all UPND members, within a section of UPND members. You heard the tape that we played. Some are saying, we are freedom fighters. But the question here is, are these UPND, a section of UPND members, are they out of tune, or they are not? Are they still in alignment with the bigger picture, the vision of UPND? What is your take?
Yes, good evening, everyone. It's always a pleasure to come back on this platform. Thank you very much, Don Oscar, from Italy. I think I understand the frustration of many of these UPND, especially UPND-aligned youth. I understand the frustration. I come from the Copper Belt. I come from Kitwe and Ndege, to be specific. I have my relatives in Ndola. I have my relatives in Kawushi, actually. And I have my relatives in Kwacha, where the by-elections are supposed to be held and where they were halted. And I understand, I've been informed by some of these people what is happening on the ground and why the UPND, some of them now, they are just coming out and complaining openly that something is not going on well. So if I talk about the people in the Copper Belt, that group which discussed, which came out wearing those funny clothes and things like that, I think I did not support that one. I don't support it, and I hope such a trend does not come back. But I understand their frustration. And Mr. Chilufya, Mr. Patrick, I can just underline one thing that I noticed. I am one of those who helped some of the groups to form CDF, what do you call this, cooperatives. The UPND and our president, when they just came into power, they called most of the youth, not only the youth, but I remember very well, they called the women to form cooperatives. In the Copper Belt, Mr. Patrick, one of the delusion and the disappointment has been, first of all, they were promised, the women especially, women cooperatives and women working groups were promised to be given something from the Black Mountain. Up to now, as I am telling you, one of that cooperative that I know, if some of them, they are listening to me, because they told me to talk about this. They are from Riverside. Riverside, very good place. Some of them, they are working class. Others, they are mothers at home. About 30 of the women forming a cooperative in February. And they were promised that they were going to give something from the Black Mountain so that they can boost their group and they can start their business. Up to now, nothing happened. That's just one. Now, another cooperative, which is called Green Clean Cooperative, which is based in Ndeke, in Kitwe, formed by 15 young men and girls, young boys and girls, between the age of 22 years of age and 32. And these young men, they formed their cooperative in February, convinced that what the UPND and the President Hakainde Hichilema had emphasized, please the youth, form cooperatives and form cooperatives. And up to now, these young men have not seen anything the like of the CDF money. So now, this is just one of the examples.
So hold your peace, we don't want to track out, to move out of what we talk about. Hold your peace. So in essence, what you're saying is the president still at that as big a vision for UPND.
Yes.
And then,
then
what do you think? So you are saying, so where do you think there's a problem before we can come to the solution? Let's just talk about them. Why is this problem of CDF? People have formed the CDF and they haven't received the money. And then we'll come back to the solutions. Why do you think this is a problem?
It's a problem because on the part of the president, for example, the president assured the people, we have already sent the money. The money is no longer in Lusaka. It was in the specific provinces or districts or whatever you can call, or constituencies. So the money is there in the places. 25.7 million. Now, up to now, Mr. Patrick, we still hear that only the first quota has been given, and that is 5 million kwacha. This is 20th of September. Now, this is a problem. And the people are questioning. The question they're asking me is, or they would like also to ask on this panel is this, were the UPND telling us the truth, or they were saying something else? Okay. Because please, this is 5 million only has been issued according to some of the councillors and the CDF groups. Only 5 million. Then the central government has said, we no longer have, we don't hold the 25.7. Where is the money? Why is the money not being given to this? They have given you this, the example of these two cooperatives registered. They are still waiting up to now, patiently. Now time is passing and the money is there, but the money is not being given to them. And that is one of the key issues. And there comes now these small young people are saying, we'll pray for Kuriamo. I think they are coming out to say, well, the money is there. Who's being given?
Okay, Mr. Mpombo, Father Mpombo, what I know is somewhere there's some administrative itches somewhere. But anyway, when it comes to solution, we're going to talk about that. Mr. Bimbe has so much knowledge about the administration of CDF. So we'll come and talk about it as even now, I'll ask him to come in and talk about that. But first of all, I want my big brother, Mr. Mukeleva, also to make a comment. And then we'll come back to that. That has been noted. Thank you, Father Mpombo. We'll come back to you with another question. Mukeleva, good to see you. You know what we're talking about.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So the question here is, surely there is a lot of agitation and anxiety. There is a discord in my party, UPND. And the question is, the first question was, is it because these people don't understand? Not everybody, not all UPND members, it's just a section of UPND members. Do you think they don't understand the bigger picture of HH or vision of the party, or they are not in tune? What do you think is the problem in your own analysis?
Yes, thank you so much.
Minutes. We've got a lot of questions, a lot of topics to talk about.
I will try to be brief as well. Well, thank you so much for Chilufya and Kimanzi Wan Chavasaesu, Chavasavulozi. Thank you so much. The problem that I can see, or that I identify in our people, is that once bitten, twice shy. And they think history is about to repeat itself. When they hear a lot of work being done and nothing is coming forth. Because in Zambia, we thrive on drama. And our enemies, or the enemies from the other camp, they are trying by all means to distract our attention from what we have to something else. They are bringing in a lot of issues. Today, when you go on Zambian media, I promise you what you hear is something that is not even related to development. It is pakanwa. It is about things that are not even going to put food on our table. And some of the weak members in the UPND camp, these are people who are convinced and think this government is actually falling back into the previous regime's way of running things, and they are failing. So therefore, they are trying to decampaign. And most of these people are trying to decampaign our ministers, our fellow brothers who have been appointed, who are newly appointed, and they're barely a year. 1 year. Some, they haven't even clocked 1 year, Vane. They have not clocked that year. They are still on probation. And here we are crying. We want to see results. You are forgetting that you can only get result from something that has been already been done thoroughly, some government that, or the economy that has been okay. But in this case, in this scenario, what did our brothers and sisters that are running the government today from our UPND inherit? That is the question that we should ask ourselves. And how are they managing to mitigate? In 1 year, they have managed to squeeze. They've managed to squeeze all these little progresses that we have seen. How did they manage? Was it abracadabra? Since we believe so much in Jesus and believe in God, do you think it's a miracle that now we have free education? Did Hakainde use his own money? How did it come about? So let's not rush in conclusion or rush in making or start finger pointing when our brothers and sisters who are in government, they are sleeping sleepless nights, 24/7, trying to put some good programs that are going to help us tomorrow. Because the damage, that's what you are forgetting, which the other camp is trying to protect, is so huge and extensive. So no mbanga twaikala pano, finger pointing, fighting among ourselves. Then I'm sorry, we are weak and they're gonna win. And they are going to win because we listen to their baloney, to their propaganda. CDF came just recently, it was released just recently. There's a procedure. They can't give anyone that comes with it. They have to be procedures. So te kutira tubutukire fin to palas to Chilufya, and will be the same people that will be blaming, will come on this very forum and pointing fingers at the very guys who are in government, say, Mamona, this is what, these are, we told you, they are incompetent. They are trying to be categorical, methodical. What's the rush?
Okay, Mukeleba, thank you. Thank you so much. We've got a lot to talk about today. Thank you so much, Mukeleba. The next question is very interesting because most of us, Barbara, Mpombon, Nason, Mukeleba, we fought for that party to go. I don't want even to mention its name because I will be advertising it. Because there was so much confusion in the country. There was so much lawlessness. You can't even go to the market. You'll be beaten. Women were beaten. There was Chimugodi. There was no rule of law. No democratic structures. And that's what we fought for, not for jobs. But the question I have, Mr. Bimbe, you are the co-guest. And then I'll pose the same question to the others. Does the UPND section, a section of UPND membership, still appreciate what this battle was all about? Over to you.
Thank you very much.
Before you go in, the reason why I asked this question is, should we continue fighting the way we are fighting? We're going to give chance to those people to come back, and imagine those people coming back. Over to you.
Yes, I mean, yes and no. I don't think PF are going to come back. There's just no way. The reason I say that is, as I said earlier, the 2.8 million are not UPND members. And I think if you scan Facebook, most of the social media, people are happy with what is going on. People are okay. They are free. That's the key point. Now, it's only probably within the UPND, as you've alluded to, the youth, those that were really on the ground and doing all sorts of things, campaigning, are the ones that are feeling shortchanged, right? Which I feel for them. I feel for them. But the question, however, I want to kind of look at is the reason they're feeling that way is because they looked at what PF used to do, and their thinking was it was going to be the same. I think if we look at what the government has done to try and help that, mitigate that, there is the CDF, there is the CEEC, right? The money has gone to the constituencies. And here's the catch. People were just told, create cooperatives. Now, as an individual, ask myself a question. What is the cooperative going to do? Right? So that's the key point. The best way could have been, what are the issues that the constituency, the local, what are the pain points people are having? How can we provide, who can provide the best mitigation to that? How much is that mitigation going to cost? Fine. Here is the CDF to apply that. That way, it makes more sense than there is the money, go and create a cooperative. To do what? That's my first question. Now, if you come to the UPND as structures, I'm not privy to how the structures operate. I think the key thing they should have done or could do, still do now, is to try and provide the skill to these youth so that they're able to leverage the CDF and the other facilities that are being created. For example, they could help them create, go and get some skills into the treasury. They can learn financial management. They can learn how to navigate the procurement system and create viable business. The other quick win they could have done is there are a lot of youth today. If you just drive around Lusaka, they are making blocks. They are making all sorts of things. Those are viable businesses. I would have thought, as a government, probably they would have gone to those people, work with colleges and others, help those with probably the CDF to grow their business, to become a little bit professional, regularize their business. And guess what? Those people can assimilate the same youth into there because that's a viable going concern. The problem that has been created because of the PF was, there's the money, find something to do, find a way to get that money. But where is the value going to be created from? That's where I have a problem with the whole idea of this empowerment. empowerment, it seems, is just dishing out. But for what purpose? What problems are we trying to solve? Yes, we are trying to solve problems because people need livelihood, but that's not the point. The point should be, how is then that problem that they're trying to solve helping the community? In so doing, they are creating sustainable livelihood for themselves. Because doing what we've done all along is give them money. What do? They go to South Africa, order some stuff, come and sell. They go to China, buy stuff, come and sell. That is not adding value. But they are already thriving youth businesses in Lusaka, in the Copper Belt, everywhere. There is. If we talk about the Black Mountain, I don't know how it operates, but to me, again, that was a very bad idea to try and give the Black Mountain just like that. However, there could be auxiliary stuff that people can do. Give the Black Mountain to the people who know how to do mining. Then allow the ecosystem to grow around that. Then that can assimilate those youths. So that's probably my view on how we could get along on that. As to whether the bigger picture has been missed or not, I want to believe the majority of UPND members and sympathizers like myself, I still believe in that bigger picture, and I'm comforted to know that, having looked at Hakainde's past, is one person that cannot be distracted. Is moving at a certain trajectory, and I don't think all these things that they are throwing around are going to disturb that, because the bigger thing, as Vamkeleva has put it, is the economy. And everybody knows we need to resolve that first. Then we can start growing that. But of course, as I said earlier, there's the CDF, there is the Citizens Empowerment, and there are other empowerment funds around, but they need to be strategically administered. And this is why I'm saying there are better ways of administering that empowerment rather than just giving without a purpose.
So Bimbe, you were saying for everybody to do a business, it needs to have a business case or a business proposal. So do you think those people who are getting money from CDF, don't you think they need to have that? And also they need to be reskilled, they need to be trained, they need to be given skills, because you can't just throw money to somebody who doesn't have the skills to manage the money.
Yes, they need to be. I mean, with a business case, I'm more talking about procurement. Procurement normally has to have a business case and a solid one. Why are we doing this? What problem are we trying to solve? Is it value for money and all those kind of things? But when it comes to empowerment and people creating whatever business they want, it's another thing. I know there is a big industry out there that can churn out business proposals, but those business proposals obviously need to be kind of tested whether they are viable or not. That's the whole thing. So the key is they need mentoring, they need those skills, they need to hand-holding. Empowerment shouldn't just be give them the money. No, it has to be mentored in a particular way. In fact, I would even go further and say, in places like the US, empowerment is not given directly from government. No, empowerment administers the money through banks, because banks have got the infrastructure to scrutinize who can afford the loan, who can pay, who is the risk. They've got all those kind of things in place. And I think the government could utilize that as well to look at those business cases. Are they viable and whatever? But to the UPND itself, then they can teach their members how to do those things. This way, it's much more sustainable, and you're going to create a viable business.
So you think, okay, you think a bit of the solution. You think that could be one of the solution to the current anxiety and discourse?
Yes, yes, and Barbara had mentioned it clearly. Is the lack of presence from probably, as she has put it, the leadership to the same youth. I think it just requires some sort of a strategy. Everything shouldn't just be politics about, who is doing what, who is doing. It's about inclusivity. It's about sitting down together and finding the solution together. But as I say, it has to be identify those areas that can benefit the community and build a business out of it, rather than just getting the money and then think of the business.
Fantastic, Mabimbe. Barbara, you're on the spotlight. The same question. Do you still think UPND members still appreciate what that battle we fought was all about?
I 100% hand on heart think they do. Having said that, they also have expectations. Like in any political party, people have expectations of what will be once we win. And those expectations for all of us are based on our experiences in life. You cannot have an expectation of the life you've never lived. The expectations that our Zambian people have is the expectation of what they have seen, of what happens to people who are in power. Just a few years ago, from Chilufya's time, I think it's Chilufya who had a slush fund. So over the years, most African governments, they have a certain pot of money that they use to make their cadres happy. So that money, if they have a secretary general, that money is given to that secretary general to go around distributing that money. And so that secretary general will look as though he's very powerful. So we are now in a government where we want to go clean, we want to go digital, we want to do things the way they should be done, the way they're done in developed countries and everywhere. That's going to take a little bit of a time. So personally, I think...
Barbara, just hold your peace. You're actually getting closer to where we are going. You know that a lot certain section of UPN members, they've even formed a WhatsApp group. I've been added in that WhatsApp group. They are saying our Secretary General Imenda's head should be chopped, and his deputy. So do you agree? Do you also accept that? No. Go ahead, Barbara.
No, I don't. You know the reason why? Because even the next Secretary General is not going to have a pot of money to do what the other PF Secretary General had, because he was coming from Makasaka Kampia. So they would go around, move around with cadres, give them pockets of money. So they'll start looking as though they're incompetent. What we can do as UPND members, all of us, is probably have something like a membership where we deliberately support our cadres through education, through deliberate education, a bit like the way UNIP was, but not exactly like UNIP. You know, in Kaunda's government, the UNIP cadres were getting scholarship, etc. Instead of doing it like that, have a certain deliberate sponsorship. You know, us UPND can sponsor money that will slowly trickle down to the most vulnerable of our members. Because what we have to remember is the people that vote for us, not all of them are educated, not all of them are able to access all these things that we're talking about. Most of them don't have that money. Most of them, to start the day, they need that same money from Makasini. You know, if you watch, what's his name, Mwela's page, what's his name, Simonson. Every morning I see these young people, they're hustling from 6 o'clock. They're hardworking. No, we can't say that these people are lazy. They wake up at 6 with no money, no nothing from the time they're leaving home. All they are hoping for is to make a little bit of money for lunch and supper and then start the whole process the following day. So maybe we can start donating money, make it a usual donation of money so that we can educate some of our members, make it deliberate to help them with business, because it's so good to say we've got SMEs and all these things. Do they have easy access on how to borrow money? Do they have easy access on how to do these things? We have to teach them. We have to teach our members. You know, if you have your own child in your own house, if you're educated, your child is already at a big advantage, because from day one, you help them to do a CV, you help them to look for schools, you help them to make decisions. Other kids don't have that advantage. They are doing it all by themselves from square one. They are just hearing about SME. They don't know, where is this SME? Where is the application form? What are you supposed to do to even get this money? Who are you supposed to talk to? Which number are you supposed to call? Those are the things that our leaders within UPND should really work on. They should get all the way to the level of the people on the street to say, if you need to do A, B, C, D, this is what you need to do. If you don't have access to A, B, C, D, maybe you can speak to this person who can help you, or three of you can work together so that you can help one another and, you know, form a little cooperative. You can even start with just 4 or 5 people so that they can have access to a little bit. Instead of somebody looking for somebody who can supply 1,000 desks, start from saying, okay, we're looking for people who can supply desks for just one classroom, so that 4 people can do those desks, they supply, then they start from there. Then you move on. I think that's what we need to do. But that's just my opinion. But we all believe in UPND. We believe in the progress. But just like us members say, what happened yesterday? Still, I submit.
That was fantastic, my Barbara. Van Pombo, quickly, what's your opinion on that? Still, do UPND members, including yourself, you're a supporter or sympathizer, do you still appreciate that bigger picture? The main reason why we removed that part, we don't mention their name.
Yeah, I still support the decision that we made. And I loved to be realistic. I think even before the elections, if you remember, I am one of those few people who said, I wanted to be part of the opposition party on the TVBakwetu. I don't know whether you remember something like that, because I was playing the devil's advocate sometimes. So I want to be realistic. Something has gone wrong. Just as I think on the panel, you have remembered that we want to be realistic. What the government told our youth was to form cooperatives. This is categorical and this is very clear. The president, he assured, he cooled down the anxiety of the youth by saying, please, we don't want the kamo, we are not going to issue that one. Tantameni, we are not going to do tantameni. We are not going to give kamo, but our solution, the anxiety and the desire for the youth to receive something, to start working was so urgent, and now 1 year has elapsed, a year has gone. I give you an example. Here I have a list of about 39 youth in Buchi. In Buchi, they are doing the, it is called, they were supposed to report at the Buchi Vocational Youth Training Center. You are talking about training the youth before they can receive the CDF. So now in Kitwe, some of these things that they are doing is, this one is in Buchi Vocational Training Center. And they registered something like 60 youth to do this job. Now, 39 of the 60 never reported for training. 39 out of 60 never reported for training. Why? I have the details here. Why they did not report for training? 1 year has elapsed. without money in the pockets. And these 39, they come from houses. I don't want to be so cruel to the UPND. I have supported the UPND, and I would not love the President Hakainde Hichilema, a gentleman, a blessing to the country, to fail. But what I'm saying is,
so in essence, let's cut the story short.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is this.
You're still appreciating the cause.
I do appreciate, but definitely I understand also the frustration from the youth, because time is ticking. And we are still here calling the youth to go for practice. And when are they going to start now having something? And the training they are doing, I understand, Mr. Patrick, they finance themselves going and back.
Yeah, it's really sad. But again, you remember the president issued a statement before he left for New York. He said, we've never been in government. And the last 1 year has been a learning curve. So they are also learning. So who knows into the second year? So, Bampombo, we need to move on. I'm going to give you another opportunity to talk. Mukelebai, on the issue of appreciating the cause, are we still appreciating the main cause of removing that notorious party that was in government, that messed up almost everything?
Every well-meaning Zambian, lead my lips, well-meaning Zambians, including the very people that was ushered out of office, if they actually mean well to the Zambian welfare, I think they are currently appreciating the status quo. Rushing the government to start dishing out money at Tantameni is not going to be a fair deal. I know people they have the anxiety. They want to receive because they have seen Bakaponya, Bakada. They were flashing money. That is what is, they are still envious. They want to do the same to show off as well. That will never happen. That will never happen, because that money was meant for the medicine that you lacked last time. That money that was being dished around was the money that we are now paying for hardly through the expenses. Today, we are buying fuel at what figure? It's because somebody did not plan, and that money we are supposed to pay back. It was not our money. It was the money meant for the Chinese that borrowed that money, that gave us the money with interest. We have that money that was being dished out everywhere in the country from the European bonds. We are supposed to pay that money. We cannot. The Zambian coffers, they are not like government bomb. We are the one going to pay back. We are paying. You are paying pay as you earn, NAPSA, whatever you call it. What are those taxes? You are paying. The reason why you are paying that money is and they are high. It's because of trying to go and service some of these monies that these people borrowed carelessly. So it is very unfair. Within a year, mwalefirwa okusanga 1.6 CDF from the previous. Lelo bampera 5 million. Just past payment. You want to start crying, Lelo, before a year. Are you being fair or honest from the bottom of your hearts? Let's not take this government for granted. Now I understand why people create monsters out of holy or good men. Because these men who are providing these services, they may also be burnt and they may retaliate or react. They will give up. Look at the governor that you fired from the previous regime. If he was frustrated, do you think he would have even managed to organize? Look at how they managed to bring down to make our kwacha, the money that was so nothing but to something. This is the person that you called incompetent. With the help of the finance minister, as a team, as they work together, they have managed to stabilize our kwacha, our currency. Lelo, you want to call HH and the group and the team at they're incompetent or they are not doing their job. Mule kwate chinka mwemena Zambia and mule tasha and ush tasha mwana wandosh. I'm going to be honest. Mule tasha within a year, something positive has happened, and we should learn to appreciate. Rushing that issue will never come back. We don't want to own trillions of dollars to foreign countries, the rich countries, when we can use that money on ourselves. Let's be honest, Vane. Ngamule our children to benefit tomorrow in the future. Let us try to save. Let us learn to save. The youths, you have time. You will benefit. And you have done the right thing. Go and attend, game up your skills. I promise you, you're gonna enjoy the dividends. Right now, the country is still, they are still trying to patch up. Ama potholes, ama drum holes, va Shile, va PF, our brothers, the one we love so much, that destroyed our country. And when we ask them, they claim that we are persecuting them. Honestly, are you normal? Turekwipisha, okuwashitama helicopter, you are persecuting me. Abana balilala nensala. They are busy doing ama skills, Tuma training center, vocational training. Iwe uleshita helicopter. Do you know how much the helicopter cost? Mule kwata kwensoni.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kelevai. That was fantastic. Let's move on. Our guests, you may agree with me. There was fire last week. The president was in the Copper Belt for 5 days, obviously drumming up support for Kabushi and Kwacha constituency. After that 5 days, there've been a lot of anxiety, agitation within our members. They want certain people to be fired. Some were saying Mulambe Haimbe should be fired because they didn't advise the president properly. The secretary general should be fired. And especially after losing the Luangwa by-election. So I'm going to ask two questions at a go. One will be talking about the Copper Belt, the Kabushi and the Kwacha, and the other one will be talking about Luangwa. I'll combine the two of them so that you can comment on them. So I'll start with Mr. Bimbe first, who is our main guest. Mr. Bimbe, or the panel, can we blame the president's advisors or His Excellency the President to go and camp in Kopala for 5 days when the Kabushi and Kwacha constituency was awaiting the court ruling? Because this is one of the agitation is coming from. They want certain people to be fired because they are not doing the job properly. Then the second part of the question, other people are saying we need to fire the Secretary General because we lost the Luangwa by-election. So, do you think losing the Luangwa by-election makes the PF stronger? or the UPND weaker? Over to you, Mr. Bimbe.
Oh, thank you. It's very.
So there are two questions here.
Those are very
People,
good questions.
the president shouldn't have gone to Kitwe because there was a pending court ruling, and as a result, people are blaming, the Minister of Legal Affairs. They are blaming everybody, advisors, that they didn't advise him well. And then we lost Luangwa. They are saying we are losing ground, and the reason is we have a bad Secretary General. But do you think losing Luangwa makes UPND weaker, or makes the Secretary General weaker, or PF becoming stronger? Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I answer, I comment on the two. I just like to reiterate what Barbara said. As UPND, I think it's high time membership belonging is taken seriously by way of contributing to the party, those that can afford. I think that will go in a long way in kind of helping some of these things that our youth need to help them start somewhere or understand how to go about procurement, how to go about, if they form a cooperative, what do they need to do? I think that could be a very good innovation that can be done. Coming to the president going to the Copper Belt, I think Zambian politics has really gone to the gutters in a way. It's more like, whatever the president does or doesn't do is still going to cause some sections, something. They're going to always find something. Now, if we look at the issue of him or the president going to the Copper Belt, if the president didn't go to the Copper Belt and the court decision came out as it did, what would be the outcry? Oh, he knew that the court was going to rule. That's why he didn't want to go to the Copper Belt. He didn't want to get embarrassed, right? Now, if again he didn't go to the Copper Belt, then the court ruled otherwise, then he wouldn't have campaigned. So what I'm trying to drive at is the point that there is separation of power now. So the executive doesn't influence the judiciary. So that's something that the UPND should be very, very proud of rather than castigating. It just shows maturity in our democratic institutions, maturity in the way politics are supposed to be done. That's my take on that one. With regards to Luangwa, I don't think UPND lost the seat because the seat was already held by PF. However, if you look at the margins, actually PF lost some votes. And the rest, UPND and the other parties gained. So that's a good sign. But on the bigger picture, if one has followed Zambian politics, regional politics the way they are, Eastern Province, which I know Luangwa is in Lusaka, but truly speaking, it's just Eastern Province. It takes time. It takes an election cycle for them to go to the ruling party. During, after MMD came in, MMD struggled to penetrate Eastern Province. It was all you need. In the second term, MMD started winning in Eastern Province. Then PF won. Eastern Province was still MMD. Until the other election, that's how it went to PF. So I wouldn't take that. So take that as PF being stronger, UPND being weaker. It's just the way the politics in Zambia have gone.
And we shouldn't fire the Secretary General.
No, there's no point. There's no need. I mean that was explained by Barbara very well. You fire this one, the next time you fire the next one, then what? I think the key is dialogue. They need to sit together. I can understand there is this agitation. The youth feel they were used to do whatever they did. But what I want to believe again is they were kind of in their own sense. I think they misled themselves, thinking we will be the next people to run the markets. We will be the next people to run the bus stop. I think that was the problem. Probably that information could have been given earlier, that actually this is not going to happen. Because if you remember, even Mwali Teta mentioned that he wanted to do the same, and the president castigated him on that. So the whole thing, I think, just requires more of a discussions coming together. And as Barbara has mentioned, this subscription kind of raising money to start helping. I still believe, the youth can contribute a lot. I mean, again, it depends how you define the youth, which ones. So there are different categories. There are those that might require certain skills. There are those might require, they've got already businesses they are running. They just need maybe skills to grow their businesses. There could be, others that could just be encouraged to work for other youth. So there is a way. It's just a question of sitting down and talking as a party, basically.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bimbe, on that. I think ladies first on the co-guest. Barbara, what's your take on those two questions?
I generally think in regards to the Kabushi and Kwacha or Copper Belt elections, whichever way it went, some people would have complained that if the president didn't go, just like Bimbe said, if the president didn't go and the result came the way it came, he would have been blamed. Just bearing in mind, just about 4 weeks ago, people were saying UPND is the president is trying to create a one-party state in Zambia. If you've forgotten, that was just about 4 weeks ago, or max 5 weeks ago. Everybody was saying that. Then the minute things turned, we almost want to treat Bali the way people treat Meghan, here in the UK, where if she smiles or if she smiled at, she opens her mouth, or she looks like she's smiling at the Queen's funeral. She cries, oh, she's an actress, that's why she's crying. So whatever he's trying to do, there's always somebody trying to criticize him. The other day, his name did not come on the list of the leaders going to the Queen's funeral. People were laughing at him, oh, he's not on the list, until they found out that they were packed in a bus. He's making decisions that we need to support him. Either way, the Luangwa seat, just like everybody has said, what Bimbe said, Eastern Province has got its own historical background and beliefs. It takes a long time. Even when people take over, they don't really take over. They just take an Easterner there who joins the party to go and win over that side. So the cycle really doesn't change. And the seat belonged to PF anyway, and they lost some of the votes. So that's something that should tell us something. Now, moving forward, the biggest thing that us as UPND should start believing is having faith and confidence in ourselves. It's a bit like, the guy who wins the lottery but doesn't really believe that they've got money. Until we believe that the money is in our hands and we are the winners and we are in charge, we'll be scared with whatever happens. If the president goes somewhere, we start panicking. Oh, why did he do this? Oh, why did he do that? Everybody is the president's advisor. Literally, the 10 million Zambians. Everyone wants to tell what the president needs to do. If he sneezes, he should sneeze like that. He should sneeze. This one should be sacked. That one should be sacked. No one should be sacked. They should just sit down, go to the grassroots, have serious words with the grassroots and say, this is what we're doing, and be visible. Because let's face it, we are living in a world of social media. A member of parliament who takes pictures every day with 3 people, even if he's just walking out of his house, takes a picture with one guy, people call him the best hardworking MP they've ever seen on the face of the earth. A guy who's probably not taking pictures and is doing all he can to support his local community. They say, if we are MP, we don't even see him because he's not where. He's not on Facebook, he's not on Twitter, so they have to be visible. Just, meeting, young people for CDF, make sure they are visible. Show them to the world, this is what we are doing. We are in Buchi, we are in this, we've had a meeting. That's what people want to see. Believe me, people just want to see that it's happening. If it's not happening, if they're not seeing it, people start asking these questions. How come it's only 5 million that has been paid out? They may have a good reason, but because none of us has seen it, before you know it, people start getting married. Before you know it, people start buying new cars. In Zambia, we start concluding, oh, nashtana motoka, nashtana shanishan, where is the 5 million? That's what we are. We need to be visible as people working with grassroots, I submit.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Mr. Mpombo, or Father Oscar Pablo Mpombo, what's your comment on the president's visit to the Copper Belt and also losing the Luangwa by-election? Because this is where all this agitation started from,
Yeah.
So was the president right to go to the Copper Belt for 5 days, knowing that there was a pending ruling in the High Court? And also, people are saying our Secretary General should be fired because we lost Luangwa by-election, and we are in power. We shouldn't have lost it. Over to you.
Thank you very much. About the president's visiting the Copper Belt, I think something was wrong. Something was not very clear there. I would start with what happened also with the ECZ, because the normal practice of printing the ballot papers and then asking the stakeholders to go and see and confirm and all that process was not done, first of all, and then I think it's better they cancelled the elections in Kabushi and Kwacha. It was much better because they would have concluded that something fishy was going on, especially with they would have called in the questioned our president, Hakainde Hichilema, just for that small thing, the missing of the ballot. We never knew who printed the ballot papers. Nobody knew whether they are printed in Zambia or not. Then
let's not talk about that.
Yes, and then
that's external. We're talking about the agitation within UPND, and it was because certain section of UPND members are saying the president should have been properly advised, and some are blaming Mulambo Haimbe because he's the legal affairs minister. So the question is, was it right that the president went to campaign for 5 days, knowing that there is a pending court case which would have gone either way? And then we lost the Luangwa by-election. It just made things worse. People are saying the Secretary General is not doing his job properly. We can't lose. We are in power. We can't lose Luangwa by-election. So those are the two questions.
I think the president going to the Copper Belt was right. Also, what I remember is that he said he was going to be working. He went on a working how do you call it, working visit, something like that. So he was working. This time he was working in the Copper Belt. Whilst working in the Copper Belt, being a president who comes from a political party, he did also involve himself in the campaigning. So that's what he explained himself. So I think it was the right thing, the right decision for the president to go to the Copper Belt. And the comments, of course, criticism or not, that is just no more. Losing the elections, the long by elections, it's not that so serious. I don't think it's quite a serious thing, but it all comes up to the agitation in the party. What has come out, which I think the UPND should really, really reflect, is that the party, the soldiers, whatever they call them, those people on the ground, I think they feel they are neglected. That is what is coming out. They feel they are neglected. You know, there are some of the accusations are these. We fought very hard. People have been given some job opportunities, were not even seen somewhere. These are the complaints. Actually, they are putting together a lot of things just because of the loss of the elections in Luangwa. Now, a lot of things that's in the hearts of the UPND, the supporters themselves. So I would listen to them, to the people. The people are still complaining. I think something can be done, much better can be done. I personally, I am for some reshuffles of some ministers. I am not going to say anyone, but to mention anyone, but I think it's there are some of the ministries which I think something much better can be done. Otherwise, the UPND is going to leave the platform. One of the gentlemen on this evening, you said that that maybe UPND was a political party which really did a good job on social network. Nowadays, it seems as if they have abandoned this way of communicating with the people. So I think the information in the UPND, the way the information is portrayed to the people and to the nation at large, something better can be done, and some reshuffle. It's not going to be a bad thing.
So, Father Mpombo, you're thinking communication needs to improve?
I'm telling you, communication is very bad in UPND. Now,
okay,
they were very good.
We'll come to that. We'll come to solutions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mkeleva.
Well, let me just say this on the Kabushi and the Kwacha. I was touched by the comment of Honorable Matambo.
Okay, Elisha Matambo.
Honorable Elisha Matambo told the youth, after learning that we lost the seat in Luangwa, Elisha Matambo told the youth, working now with the PF and embracing the PF now has come to an end. I am ordering all the youth in the copper belt, let's go out and let's protect the president and let's protect the party. I don't know whether that was correct, but I think it categorically came out like this. And we had also a group of the youth, the UPND youth in Riverside, in Parklands. They had a press conference and they said friendship with the PF has come to an end now. So in the copper belt, I think we need to also, the party needs to listen to those people. I don't know what is going to happen if the by-elections will commence in the copper belt. If at all there will be some peace there, I'm a little bit worried.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Mkelevai, on Kabushi and Kwacha. The president going there is one of the reasons the current agitation in the UPND, because they think some people needs to be fired. They are not advising the president properly. He shouldn't have gone there, knowing that they might rule against the elections might be stayed. And then the Luangwa by-election, the loss there just made the situation even worse. How can we lose Luangwa when we are when we are we are ruling now. They're thinking Secretary General is not doing his job. Over to you, Bom Kelebai.
Thank you. Like I said, or most of you have put it, to say it will be very premature for the president or the party to withdraw or terminate the contract of the SG just because one, you lost an election in Luangwa, and also the president to terminate the contract of employment of his legal advisor or his advisors, because those advisors ought, because that's the allegation, they ought to have had the knowledge, the know-how on what the court could have done, or that's what they're trying to say, meaning the advisors are supposed to interfere, or rather get the first-hand information before judgment is ordered. And already just that assumption clearly tells us to say certain people are misinformed. And when we're talking about the rule of law, the application of rule of law, and this is what we are talking about, to say there has to be transparency and there has to be no interference in any government institution, other institutions. So already by virtue of the president going to Copperbelt and drum up support and do his state visits or work, that already gives us a clear picture that he had no hand whatsoever or knowledge on what the judiciary were going to decide, whether to stay the judgment, the elections or not. So already it is a sign of progress, and we should actually be proud. We are supposed to rally behind our president and say, thank you so much for showing or leading by example, because nga nibambi nga mwale mono fyale chitika nga already this time around they ngabali shive kale, and their president was not even going to go there, or already they could have actually fired their SG or whoever, the advisors, because that is the system that we are used to. And when something like a rule of law, the application of rule of law is happening in the country, we find it so strange. That's why we even get surprised when police bond is issued to somebody that is detained within 24/7 or 48 hours. We are surprised. Why is this done? No, whenever Diesamo, Africa mu prison for at least for 1 week or for 2 weeks. That itself, that narrative, that mindset, it's new to our Zambian people, and things are changing. So I actually appreciate the outcome, and also in a democratic dispensation, we do not have to even come out here and say we are winning when we don't know, because it's not us to decide, it's the people. And whatever the people decides, the majority wins, they carry the day. Like we did in 2021, UPND won and PF lost. That's democratic. That's the spirit of democracy, and we should embrace it. And we should not demonize other people just because they lost. But PF balilusa because of their mistakes. But we should thrive, because we are now on the world map, that the country is recognized for being democratic and holding peaceful and tranquility elections. So which is very important. So I can't say much, just to say kudos to the people that are busy advising the president, and mislead, who are being misled by outside forces, more inside, more in the camp, UPND. Please desist to alishiva mlefo fulo, and that's why if you think you've been neglected But we told you, Bola, ni 90 minutes na extra time. Your time or your turn will come and you will be there. And the very people that are complaining about others will complain about you as well. So take a nyeni, take any Bola punch, because in na mwene ikafika, you'll be appointed ngamulefo enchito, apply. You can apply. You will be given the job if at all you qualify. As simple as that. Moreover, you are in the government, your party is actually a ruling party. That's an added advantage. You should not feel bad. Don't listen to Vakelenka. Don't listen to these balonies. They are trying to confuse us. And once we get confused, start attacking one another, to them, they
Mr.
thrive.
Mkelevai, you're actually answering my next question.
Oh, yeah.
Hold that piece. The next question is coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We've talked a lot. I think we need to start looking at solutions now regarding the anxiety, the discourse, the whatever they call it, or agitation in UPND. So I've got 3 questions, but they're gonna be in one. And so the question is to Mr. Bimbe. We'll start with you. You're the guest. We now know that there are some issues in our party. Not all members, a section of the membership. So what should we do what should the party, the government, and the right thinking UPND members should do to calm this situation and also help the government? Over to you, Mr. Bimbe.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're talking about the party, the government,
and
the right thinking UPND member should do to help its party and its government.
So I think we've touched a lot, I think, on the solutions, basically. So the way I see it, I think Barbara's mentioned it, is visibility. There need to be constant conversations with the grassroots, with the people within. As I said earlier, I don't know how branches and sections are created or what their mandate is, what their objectives are, but I want to believe that we join parties not to benefit. We join parties because we believe in his manifesto, we believe in his cause. Having said that, having that party membership should not be 24/7 kind of thing. It's a belonging to a club. Clubs don't give you money. That's one thing. However, clubs have got incentives that will help you do certain things. And I think we've touched on that one. Then there's a need for us as the UPND, as everybody else, to start having these strategic discussions, talking, engaging, and allaying all these fears. Opportunities are gone. We've touched on how can the youth be helped in understanding all these processes. The CDF has been discussed, has been mentioned, but the CDF comes with reams and reams and reams of paper of procedures, processes that might require probably lawyers to understand. So there need to be some people within the UPND that can sit down and decode that and help the youth how to go about those kind of applications and that kind of thing, business cases and helping that. And then there should be also a way of just connecting different youth with other youth that are doing well and helping all that, growing those kind of SMEs or small scale industries. That can be done. In terms of the government, I think the government is an odd thing. We've talked about this again and again and again. Communication. Communication, it seems to me the government is always on the back foot, always firefighting. Why not just give the information there? I think we live in a world where people think, you know, we still know knowledge is power. Yes, knowledge is power. Why is it powerful? Because knowledge comes from information. Put the information out there. People will create knowledge out of that information, understand what's going on. I think Wampombo just mentioned nobody didn't know about where the things were being printed, the ballots. But yet that information is there with ECZ. It's there. But the only thing is that information is never put into these spaces. And people tend to believe that Facebook is the best communication platform. Yes, it is, but it's ephemeral. Facebook is very, very bad at finding historical information, real information. In the business, we call Facebook, social media, as amplifiers. They just amplify the information that is seated somewhere else. We've heard so many times the government is going to provide this portal where all this information is. But again, it's this where everybody wants to hide that information. When they talk about it, they seem to be powerful. But what is coming out is always fighting. I see Mr. Kawana on TV stations fighting fires when all that information is already there. The government is doing well at the moment. Why not have just a proper dashboard where, and I can go in, look at the dashboard. Oh, they said by such a year they will get, by such a time they will be here. How many? Oh, they said so many people are going to get CDF. So in this constituency, how many people got CDF? What was the project all about? Where are they at the project? That information is there. But why can't they gather it and put it in a place that people can consume it and make sense out of things? So I'll blame the government. Communication, very poor, both from the party to the government and State House itself. They ought to improve on how to communicate. In most developed democracies, everything you need, you don't need a lawyer, you don't need anyone inside. Just go on the UK.gov, you get all the information about what you need, what the government doing. Go to the whitehouse.gov, you get everything that you need. What's wrong with that? You go to Statistics UK, you get all the statistics, even the raw data that you can go yourself and process. Why is it that this information is always hidden? And then you create jobs for people to just go and firefight instead of creating policies that will help people. That is one Achilles heel that this government is facing, communication. As to the right-thinking members, probably like me, I think we need to be talking more about this, talk more so that probably, we can contribute to the discourse. I like what Barbara said, this notion of subscription. I think we need to think through how that would work. I remember when we were in the campaign mode, we had such a structure within the diaspora. We helped a lot in, protecting the vote and whatever. We did that. We can do that again. It's a no-brainer. But again, it's about trust. But we can build that trust. We can be talking and create those structures. UPND as a party should not look like a ragtag organization. It's supposed to be corporate by now. It has to transform into some sort of corporate entity, have ways of raising money, have ways of talking to the people. All that is required. But one thing, as I said earlier, the caution, the party is a club. A political party is a club. You join it because you believe in its cause. And that cause is what takes you to that club. So it's not about because I belong, therefore I qualify to get that. I'm entitled to that. I think we need to remove that syndrome of entitlement. Incentives, yes, they are there, but we need to work out how those incentives can be done so that they don't piss off the other members of the general public, because that's what made PF lose elections.
So, Bimbe, why are you still there? So, we were talking about do a section of the UPND membership understand the bigger picture, because like me, the reason why I supported this government is not because I wanted a job. No, I wanted a government that was going to bring normalcy in our country, create structures, processes, create democratic structures that will last, decades, and that enabling environment for people to do business. I can go to Zambia and do business. I'm not harassed. There are no red tapes and everything. But when you look at, you remember when I did my synopsis, we looked at the governments before. When you look, if our members were looking at what was happening in PF at the secretariat, that's where money was raised dubiously and dished out to cadres. They were coming with bundles of money. So I think maybe our people had that in mind, that was going to happen. But Barbara alluded to that it will never happen in UPND because we want to do things properly. Yeah. So don't you think that's the reason why they want to chop off the head of our Secretary General, because he's not raising that money illegally and he's also not dishing it out.
Yeah, exactly. That's where the problem is. We said it earlier. The PF is on record of saying, you give out plots to PF members, some positions are for PF members, and when they get those positions, they contribute 6% to the party, which is really a bribe. And then they would run the markets and get money. All sorts of things were going on to raise that money. And then there were all these, we give you a contract, you add a markup that is shared to the party and whatever. But that was all illegal, because all what it created was a bigger cost to the general public. Prices were higher. Service delivery was poor because we are paying for all these middlemen that were getting money going to the PF. So I think for a lot of people, they thought that was going to be. And again, I'm really saddened to see some of those PF members now joining into the UPND talking the same language. This politics of this kind of entitlement, which is going to cause a problem for the UPND if you're not careful. So the solutions, therefore, are there. Is talking about them, big strategic, how to do it properly. I've talked about the CDF. The CDF is there, but the processes are so difficult for a lot of our people to even understand. Why not help simplify those and help these people access those CDF funds? But again, I'm not saying just go and access them. Find a problem that you can solve and then use that CDF for CDF to build that business. So there are options that can be done. We just need to be a little bit strategic, a little bit thoughtful, and discussing and exchanging ideas. That's what is needed. We don't need to go back to the same. Immediately UPND does that, favoring its own people, that's the time the UPND will be gone.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bimbe. Barbara, Dr. Barbara, what's your take on that? On the question I've asked, what should the obviously it's about solutions to what is happening, and I hope you understand the question. So, what's your take?
Thank you so much, Patrick, and the contributions have been fantastic from everyone on the panel, including the people listening as well from their posts. I've just been reading them. It's a very tough one because we have two sides of a coin. There's the educated people of UPND, the people, like I said in the first instance, I mentioned about the Emperor Augustus, who had a vision of creating a Rome like the Rome that we have today, in a world where nobody was seeing what he was seeing. So we have poor people, very poor people, who will not understand what you and me are talking about. So the first step in the UPND's manifesto is, first, we need to secure money, because all these things we're talking about, we need money in our pockets for us to do anything. So that was the first thing that was in the manifesto, to have money. Bimbe mentioned about communication, having information online, etc. That's exactly what Bali was doing today, in fact, in America, trying to find business deals with people that can offer online platforms so that we have that access. By the way, that's a very, very expensive venture for any country to do, because when we're looking at it from the outside, inside into developed countries, they have a lot of money. They've managed to do that. However, from the little that we have, whatever we have, we should be able to communicate effectively to our grassroots people, because the important thing right now is to change the mindset. It doesn't start from a distance when we're talking about UPND. Even within our own families, a lot of people are coming from the culture of give me some. You help somebody at some point, it's literally putting them on a direct debit because they get used. It becomes a monthly thing. Every month, oh, give me, give me, give me. We have to learn to work for what we have that culture of, yes, you can be helped once in a while if you're down and out, because we all have times when we can be down and out, but we have to have skills. We have to learn to fight for things. If you look at countries that are now developing, like South Korea, China, and them, people there work tirelessly. They have classrooms that run the whole day. The kids are in class. You even feel sorry for them, because that's the culture that we want, that they want. Sorry. So we also have to be speaking to our generation, to our kids, to everybody, educating ourselves in why we need to work, why we need to focus, why we don't need handouts, because we are coming from a culture where from women, men, everyone believed they had to be given something. That culture is not going to change next month or in 2 months' time. It will take a little bit longer, but it's our responsibility to teach everybody. That's why we need to go to the grassroots and teach them. If they have a skill, like Wabimba was mentioning, if they have a skill, teach them. If somebody is a seamstress or whatever, give them a chance to say, okay, you can be providing uniforms for such a school at a small level, and then teach them how they can grow that business. Have those things in place for the grassroots. That's the only way we're going to get out of this. By the time we start handing money to people, by the time we want a Secretary General who will be on a podium saying, oh, employ UPND as a bus stop manager, this manager, that manager, will be destroying ourselves. But it's a very, very thin line, because a person who's hungry listens to everybody. You know, the PF are using UPND, literally gaslighting them. We have even people amongst us, our friends, our family members, who are literally gaslighting us on a daily basis. Gaslighting meaning telling you something that will annoy you, and then you say something, you look like, why are you telling me that? Then you look like, you start wondering, is it me who is wrong? Is it them who are wrong? Because they already know they're gaslighting you. I submit.
You are muted, my brother.
Sorry, Bom Kelebai. Thank you, Dr. Barbara, for that good analysis. Bom Kelebai, what should the party, the government, and the right-thinking UPND membership should do to resolve this, I would say, conflict or agitation or anxiety happening in the UPND at the moment? Over to you.
Well, when you have a misunderstanding within a family, the moment you start a misangwe about chairman, where you go pamutenge and you start yelling, shouting for the world to hear about what is going on in your home, then the moment you allow that to happen, then you are weakening your home, either it's a marriage or any company. That's why there's what you sign the confidentiality clauses, where you have structures, you have the way to lodge in your complaints, you have the system in place in any given institution. Now, having said that, by UPND nga mlefwa mwikatane mumfwane so that you don't allow enemies to actually come and take advantage of your weaknesses. Stay in let this dispute or confusion be within the camp. The moment you go out in the media and start publishing and complaining, even parading yourselves to say you are not happy with what your leadership is going, you are weakening yourselves. And when you are kicked out, do not be surprised, because you played a role. Just the very moment that you just come out and start negating the people and abrogating your structure, you go ahead and start doing things your way because you feel you have the right to say things right there and then at the right moment. Then you are weakening yourselves, and your enemies will simply come and knock you out. So it is imperative that you stay within your lane and complain. If you have situations in your camp, it is important you discuss matters within your clan. And when it goes out, unless it is out of your hand. So that's what I can say for now to you, the UPND. And as for the government, we know when you are in government, you sign certain treaties, or rather agreements or confidentiality clauses that you cannot start divulging information anyhow or being involved in a political and issuing political statements everywhere. There is a procedure also, there is a structure, there is you know what it is there. So our brothers that have been appointed today, they cannot come on the podium and start politicizing certain things because they hold or possess those offices that deter them from involved in these political whatever sentiments, issuance of any political. So there's a little bit of a catch there, because they have to speak with the government's policy, not what they think or what they, according to their own understanding. So we have to give them a benefit of doubt. And on the aspect of communication, yes, the government, it is your duty as a government through your medias or your Ministry of Communication and Information, of course, communication and information, broadcasting and information, sorry, to disseminate information or to avail the information, the activities of the government. Whatever is going on, people need to know. you cannot hide certain information from the Zambian people, from the people that put you in. Like, for example, when OHH talked about if I was to show you what we found, you are not going to be happy. You are not going to like it. Such sentiments makes us now wanting to know more, because we want to know. Are we not entitled to know? Because we are the people. Those things that those people destroyed, they belong to us. So we need to be communicated. We need transparency, even when you are dealing with certain information or activities. We need to know we are entitled. We are the citizen. We are the people that put you in power. And when it comes to personalities, to personal issues, well, you know that you are not under any legal obligation to answer our calls when we call you. You are not, it is your prerogative to pick up your phone and respond whenever, because you can, and we cannot persecute you. However, we are your friends, we are your brothers. We need to talk to you. Sometimes just listening to how you are doing is important. Even a hello or okay. These days, emojis are already been put there where you don't have to type. You just click and then it comes. Then we know that you are okay. So having said that, there's nothing much I can say. That was what I wanted to say for now. By UPND, please unite. Don't let enemies divide you. Don't let enemies divide you. They are going to take advantage of this loophole or this confusion and come and capitalize and destroy your party. You sitting there watching. So be careful and be mindful, because some of these enemies, their main aim is to avoid going to prison, to avoid being sued, being taken to court to answer, so that they could bring what they stole. They will try by all means to create a diversion so that we look on the other side, we forget about the ongoing cases. That is their program. So they are winning if you give them that ear. Having said that, may God bless you and may God bless our country, Zambia. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bom Kelebai. Father Mpombo, what's your comment on that? On we're talking about the solutions. What should the party help the government? What should the government, the party, and the UPND government, UPND members should do to calm the situation?
Right. Thank you very much again. I think as some of my colleagues on the panel have already elaborated very correctly, I think there is need under the party to have continuous interaction with the grassroots and the party structures. Many people, they complain about this. I know that the people in the government, well, they have a lot of work, and hence probably the difficult to interact with the many people at the grassroots. But I think something better can be established so that there can be a continuous interaction with the people at the grassroots. That's a party level. And of course, to listen to Mr. Chilufya, there is a group of people in the Copper Belt, those who are not learned. One of them made an audio, very interesting audio. He was saying, for the learned people, 30,000 teachers, 11,000 nurses, and then other people have been employed. What possibility of employment is the president going to give to us who have not gone to school. So I think also for the president, I think for the president, for the party to also think of something to give to our friends, our sisters and brothers, those who have no degrees, they don't have, probably they don't have even a grade 12 certificates, but also they need as well the help from the party. And now for the government, I think all of us, we have already underlined the importance of the communication in the UPND, not only in the party, but as a government. We hope something can be done to really, really improve on the information and the communication system. Then, I think the main speaker for tonight, I don't remember the name, Mr.
Nason Bimbe.
Yeah, Bimbe. Mr. Bimbe, do you know what your surname means in Italian? It's a plural for girls. Bimba is a girl. Bimbe is a plural for girls.
All right. Come to Italy then. And then you can mistake me for a group of, you know.
Okay, so I think just like Mr. Bimbe said, I think we need also the president should not hide to disclose whatever happened also with the previous government. Otherwise, I can see a raising sentiment of saying that probably our president lied to the people. You get the point. If the people are, well, our government says, Zambians, these people stole. These people did a lot of bad things. And now a year elapses, nothing is seen. So the sentiments now which is growing, Mr. Patrick, in the ordinary people, especially vamayona vatata kumishi avakumishi navambano kulanda ti alafyavu fi ati valiva tavaikata pofenango feumo maumfe. So I think this government, it's fundamental. Otherwise, for sure, some of the people, they are going to say, well, was the UPND telling us the truth? And I think that's a caution to the government. And then the free education, Mr. Patrick, I've just observed there are some difficulties, in the Copper Belt especially. There has been what is called combined schools. I don't know whether you have information on those. Combined schools, the same school, it was a primary school. Now they put in also a secondary, and now
they used to call them basic schools.
Yeah, now it is. They say it is a combined school. So primary and secondary school together. Sometimes they share the same rooms. Sometimes it's quite complicated. Now, in these combined schools, Mr. Patrick, when they say free education, they are finding it some problems because the benefits that some of the teachers, especially those for the primary education, the teachers are receiving, they are not the same. Some of the incentives that they are being given, they are not the same with the teachers at a secondary school, but they are working at the same premises. I don't know whether I have clarified that. It's really, really, really saddening. And those teachers from the primary, I give you an example. They told me about something like they give the incentive themselves incentives like SAB. I don't know what it means. SAB.
Yeah,
which means
that's a topic of another day.
Thank you. So what I wanted to say is there is some sort of unsatisfaction also, I think, amongst the teachers. And so we are kudos for the free education, but I think the teachers, maybe there are some sort of complaints there. We hope we hope something better. I cannot pretend a lot in 1 year because the damage, as we say ourselves, we talk in psychology, we say the contamination was just too deep. So the process of decontamination needs minimum 3 years in psychology. If the contamination was so deep, the process of decontamination would take some time. Thank you. Thank you to all the viewers, and thank you to all the panelists, and thank you to Mr. Chilufya as well. Everyone, thank you very much.
Yeah, we're still there, Father Pombo. For the last part, I want you guys to give me closing remarks. But I'm not going to give any closing remarks. You guys have spoken so much, but there's just something I need to say here. There are I'm getting one comment. It's not here. It's coming through my phone. Somebody is saying the reason why the youth are not happy, especially those who are not educated, is that they believe the UPND is divided into two parts: the educated people, and those are the people who are getting the benefits, and then the poor are not getting the benefits. So what they are saying is the UPND needs to go back to the basics. They need to go back to the grassroots and offer incentives even to the poor, because even the poor campaigned and voted for them. It's not me saying that; it's the people who are saying that. And this is one of the reasons some people are agitating that the Secretary General is the one who should be looking into the poor's plight, and hence the reason for his head to be chopped. Yeah. And then the other thing I was looking at is somebody's I think it's Wom Kelebai. Wom Kelebai says the way UPND are going to the press, demonstrating about internal issues is not the best way of doing it. It's like washing dirty linen outside. And then the question I would ask you guys, starting with Dr. Bimbe, in your closing remarks, because in a normal organization, what people are doing is whistleblowing. These are internal issues, but they're blowing them outside. The question is, do you think the UPND has got the structures and the procedures? Because as a club or a membership, you need to have rules and procedures, code of conduct. And usually there should be a whistleblowing procedure or complaints procedure. So if people are venting outside, does it mean there are no whistleblowing procedures internally? Or, are the structures don't have such facilities? That's one question. That's one point I want you guys to comment on. And the other thing people have been agitating about was they need a reshuffle in government, permanent secretaries and ministers, including at the secretariat. Do you think we need a reshuffle? Starting with you, Mr. Bimbe, 2 minutes. I think we almost midnight now in Zambia. And some of us, we are going to work in the morning. Most of us, by the way. 2 minutes, Mr. Bimbe, 2 minutes, Mukelevai, 2 minutes, Barbara, 2 minutes, Mr. Mpombo, and then we close. And if there's any question from the viewers, we'll put it. But so far, there are no questions. They're just comments, and I've been putting them on the screen. Over to you, Mr. Bimbe.
Yeah, this is a very good question, and I think we touched on this question. I think I can get where it's coming from. UPND has been always portrayed as for the elite, for the educated, for whatever. Then PF was for the poor, but unfortunately they didn't do justice to the poor anyway. So, I mean, I don't know on what context the question is coming from. Is it about the whole country or just the UPND?
It's a certain section, just like the agitation. It's not all UPND members
but the whole
agitating.
country. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we kind of touched on this. And if I remember properly, the president had even put up a kind of scenario where such things can happen. What sort of intervention each one requires. Because at the end of the day, there will be people who say, well, send everybody to national service and do farming. But not everybody will. We are not in a dictatorship where you force people to do it. I think there ought to be ways of accessing these people, understanding what their needs are, understanding where the limitations are. And I'm sure the interventions can be found. There are a lot of ways of dealing with all these things, which we talked about. For example, there could be people wanting to just get a skill. You provide them with the skills. You provide them with the means to acquire those skills. There could be people who just want to say, okay, for me, probably I can get this little skill I have. I don't believe there's anybody, an adult who has got no skill. I wouldn't believe that. That skill could be formal, could be informal. But if it's informal, you could formalize that skill so that it becomes attractive to employers. So there are quite ways. What we are trying to avoid at the end of the day is just giving money as charity, as just that. It has to be an intervention that can be sustainable, can sustain that person at the end of the day. So that's where it is. Again, it comes down to sitting down, talking, finding solutions to those kind of problems, and involving, because you cannot design an intervention without the people that you want to intervene in. They have to be part and parcel of the conversation. And this is what we lack. In our country, a lot of solutions or support solutions are always top-down. And we all know that usually top-down solutions don't work. It has to be bottom-up. You have to involve everybody. Even if the top-down, the top-up must just facilitate, because the people on the ground know exactly what they are lacking, what they want. So that's my what I can say. I know it's a bit academic, but I think it can be done. Whistleblowing is an interesting one. Within a party, I mean, normally whistleblowing is where there's a question of public interest, or a life is at stake, or something like that. In a club, I'll be a little bit worried how that whistleblowing will work. But I guess there could be ways of finding a way of where certain misgivings can be, an anonymous maybe portal or whatever space that people can send things there, and then someone would look at it and deal with it, finding mechanisms of doing that. I wouldn't advise this going on Facebook and whatever, YouTube. And yes, the phones are nice. We can be excited to be on the media, whatever. But we have to remember that these things can stick. And we've seen people losing jobs even in the Western world, where, you said something 20, 25 years ago, you can lose your job today. So I would caution that. So we just need to find a better way of making those submissions in an anonymous way, or there ought to be people who should be listening to them. Reshuffles, well, I mean, it's the prerogative of the president, as we say, to do that. However, probably I would say, I think at this point in time, I think the jury's out there, probably they know who is done what, who is performing according, who can move to another place and whatever. So I think probably something that to think about, especially within the government itself. But again, sometimes reshuffles can cause a problem of continuation. So again, we have to be careful on that. So it's up to the president to decide whether that can be done. However, if we want to help the president to do that, I still come back down to what were the objective, what were each ministry supposed to achieve in a particular time, if they achieve. If that information is public, we all know, then probably we would be able to judge and say that and that probably they are not doing well. Then we start finding out why are they not doing well. Could it be they don't have resources, they don't have the right skill sets, or they don't have people that have got the rights, or it's just sheer incompetence. So we can determine that. At the moment, it's just subjective. So I'll leave it, that's for the president. I submit it. And to say, I would like to also just say thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure having Barbara, Mampombo, Mamkelewai, and for you, Patrick, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Is it my turn? Yeah. Oh yeah, Barbara.
Thank you so much, Patrick, and thank you everybody on the panel. It's really been an interesting topic today. I learn so much every time when I'm on Bakwetu. But before we go on, even on Bakwetu, we are going back to Grassroots. So share our videos, click those likes, and buy stars if you can. And remember to log in whenever there's a problem, because we need to get back to square one as well and start learning to re-communicate with our audience and find out where have we done wrong, what have we done that has caused things to go the way they are, because some of us who are UPND, like me and Patrick's, Bakwetu is a group of voices. Some of them are not UPND, but those of us who are UPND, we also have to ask those questions. Number two, I would like to just send my condolences to one of our regular viewers, Mary Kingdom Changer. She's lost a brother. So my sincere condolences to you, Mary. So take care. On sacking the SG, I don't think that's something that should happen, or the ministers. At the end of the day, that's the president's decision, because he should have had targets that he was expecting from them. If they've met them, then it's up to him to keep them, and if they haven't, then he will have some talks with them. What is our expectation? Is our expectation based on our past experience of what we want to see, or is it based on what the new Dawn wants to achieve? Two, we have to be very careful when we start discussing who advises the president on legal matters. The president has an attorney general who's supposed to be doing that. So we can't even put in the minister in such things, because there are other people that do those things for him. So we need to be careful. So those are his prerogative. In regards to the grassroots, a lot of people are saying that UPND doesn't have structures, and we don't know, some of us don't even know how to talk about the solutions, because we don't even know what's happening there. Maybe this is an opportunity for us as UPND to get back to the grassroots, because let's face it, there's so much noise. At the end of the day, we don't know who's UPND. So let's get back to the grassroots. Let's make sure we know who has UPND cards. If they don't, let's sell them those cards so that they can have them in hand, so that we are sure, like any other club, that we're actually dealing with our club members. One thing is, people went to vote. Sometimes there's a lot of confusion between voting and belonging to UPND. between having access to a minister whilst you voted for them and you were campaigning with them, but you're not a UPND member, and then they become ministers. That's where the problem is. So it's a big opportunity for us to start selling those cards to the grassroots, starts finding out in numbers, doing statistics, who belongs where, who are people in Ward A, how many people are there. It's very easy to do that. You can even do it via WhatsApp. You don't even need the internet these days. You can just count how many people are in Ward A, how many people are in Ward B. You don't need to do that when there's an election. So we all have to look back at that. This is a beautiful opportunity for us to check our numbers, to see what's going on, to get in touch with our grassroots, find out who is actually one of us and who's not. Because sometimes even those who don't belong to us can start complaining, and then we think maybe not knowing one of our neighbor. So we have to be very careful about that. And then lastly, I just want to say, divided we fall. Whichever kingdom you belong to, when you start getting divided, when you start pointing fingers at one another, when you start saying things like sack this person, get that person, it's a slippery slope, because where will you stop? You won't stop anyway. Once you start with sack this person, get that person, it doesn't stop, because the bottom line is each person is looking for somebody to be in that position who meets their needs. So me as Barbara, I want a presidential advisor who meets my standards, and those standards may not be the president's standards, may not be Patrick's standards. So we have to look at those things and avoid the slippery slope. So we have to avoid being divided. And to Bali, he's doing very well. I stand with him. I've supported him for the last 17 years. Even then, it was a roller coaster. Sometimes I ask myself, why did he choose these vice presidents, for the love of God? But at the end of the day, it was also a test to see who's good, who's bad. And in the end, we did win the elections. So politics is not an easy ride, I must say. And the grassroots politics in Africa are very, very different from Europe. So we also have to remember that, especially us who are in the diaspora, there's another dynamic to the grassroots within our communities, in our Kukwacha, Kukitwe, Kukamfinsa, all those places. We can't go there, and I can't land in Zambia and start using the same dynamics that I use when I'm here in Manchester to those people, because that's like talking to my grandmother in English and asking her, oh, grandma, are you feeling sad this morning? Are you going to have a coffee? That doesn't work. She's never had coffee in her entire life. When she's sad in the morning, she doesn't even know that sentiment of, are you sad in the morning? God bless her, may she rest in peace. But that's how it is. We shouldn't forget where we come from and our dynamics and how our politics work. Then we can solve the grassroots. Even the politicians in Zambia, the minute you start traveling, the minute you start having access to so many things, sometimes you're a politician, you're in Zambia in the morning, you wake up, you're watching BBC, you're watching CNN. Within 2 seconds, you forget that you're actually living in Zambia. Those are the things we have to avoid. We have to stick to our grassroots, because they're the food stores of the tables that we're eating on. It's those poor people that go vote in numbers, let's face it. They're the ones that keep the nice food on the table for most people. And that we should do everything humanly possible to ensure that they should eat some of that food as well. I submit. God bless everybody. Hopefully everybody's fine. And remember God in whatever you're doing. And thank you, Patrick, for the wonderful presentation. Bimbe, Kelevai, and Father Pombo. All the best. I submit.
Thank you so much, Barbara. That was fantastic and good to see you. I can see Mukelevai is itching to talk. Mukelevai, 2 minutes. You can see what the time is so that Vampombo can talk.
I know, because I'm also going for work.
Yeah, and we can close the program.
Yes. No, I just want to wish my condolences to our sister, Mary. My condolences, Mutie Marita Pelo. Let me start with the issue with you talked about the reshuffles of our ministers.
Yeah,
The question,
Do we need reshuffles?
Yes, the question
there are two questions here: reshuffles, and also do we need to go back to the basics, the grassroots, the
of
grassroots?
Course.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I got it. I'll start with the reshuffles. The reshuffle, we can only reshuffle. It's not actually we. We are not the ones that appointed them in the first place. We just supported them and voted them into parliament to represent us. But the principal himself saw more potential in each and every minister and decided to appoint them and give them ministerial positions or even permanent secretary positions and other government senior positions. So therefore, it is entirely up to him, the appointee, to withdraw certain appointments, and it's up to him who is going to assess, who is busy assessing them. He knows the performances of these guys. Do they live up to their standards they applied their jobs for, if at all they had applied, or are they doing the right thing? No matter how we may cry the loudest, I don't think the president will just stand just because we said no, fire this person. No, he has to be categorical. He has to find the reasons to why there should be a need to dismiss or terminate somebody or transfer somebody from one department to the other. So on that aspect, we don't have the power, unfortunately. We can just probably lure the president or ask him or request, actually it's a request, not demanding, but we can request the president to say, please consider these options, because this minister is not, we think, is not doing the right thing. And who are we to even judge when we can see, does speaking so loud or being on the social media every day, does that constitute hardworking? Or does being mute and doing work in the background? Because we don't know how these guys are working, but we see there's some continuity and there's progress. So far, so good. So who are we to come in and start advocating for the president to terminate or reshuffle? And then coming to the issue of going back to the grassroots, we should never forget our humble beginning, because everyone, no matter, even the president himself, did not just kaboom, is the president of the party. He began from somewhere, from there, down there. That's where he was identified and raised in structures until where he was. So everyone began from somewhere. So we should not forget our humble beginning, because that's where we all come from. Respect our humble beginning and talk to our people on the grassroots and explain to them about the structure, where they are supposed to report when they have issues to talk about or they want to report certain unfairness. There has to be a procedure. There is a procedure. There are rules in this camp. In the UPND, you have the constitution that tabulates or give you guidelines on what to do when you have received a complaint, or when you have you are aggrieved, you want to address a certain. But I don't think there's any provision where they allow you to go and start ranting in the media without any, yes, members, real members who are registered and have the card, those have the right. Of course, they know the procedures, but those who are purporting to be members when they are not, they are just sympathizers. you also are bound to follow certain rules that are written. You cannot just open your mouth anyhow and start insulting the president or condemning the president when you claim to be supporting. So follow the right procedure. I think that's what I can only say, that let's follow the laws or the rules tabulated in our constitution of the party, and let's embrace our our preamble, or rather our main aims and objectives of the party. In short, that's what I can say, and I would simply say good night, everyone. It was lovely meeting everyone on the panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mukelebai, Mukelebai. Father Mpombo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am for, I've heard the complaints, the many complaints from the people at the grassroots in the party, the UPND party. Just this morning when Cornelius Mwetwa had a press conference in Lusaka at the UPND Secretariat with Mwaliteta, I think he also acknowledged Mwetwa, Honorable Cornelius Mwetwa acknowledged that they have had some complaints. Complaints were coming from the party and were coming from the journalists as well. The journalists were saying, people are not happy with you. And Mwetwa, Cornelius Mwetwa acknowledged this complaint and said, well, because we have the journalists among us, I am not going to tell you what we are going to do, what we have discovered as a party. So if there is necessary, the people are calling for some reshuffles, I think I would listen to the people. And I've always stated myself, insofar as communication is concerned, we can do much, much better. Then some of the complaints with the people who are coming to join the party as well, in the Copper Belt, gentlemen, there was an incident, I think during the campaign in Kabushi. At one time, they had to welcome some of the people who defected from the PF. And one of these gentlemen was a brother to Findlay, the famous Findlay, who is on want. They are looking for him on the other side. And his brother joined the UPND in Ndola. And to tell you the truth, people were furious. They would give an example, they would give an excuse by saying, politics is numbers. Yes. But if the party leaders have been telling us that these guys stole, and now a brother of Findlay coming, and he was welcomed by President Hakainde Hichilema on the platform. Well, that is just too hard to digest. And so we thank for whatever the president is doing. I cannot pretend myself that he solved all the problems in 1 year. I think he needs some time. The president needs some time. He needs our support. We are going to give our support. If they need our counsel as well, we can give our counsel as well. And let's not forget about especially the people who have not learned in the UPND, the so-called soldiers, ground soldiers. Really, Mr. Chilufya, those people, they suffered. They were beaten. They have lost houses. They have lost properties. The UPND should come out with something to recognize and acknowledge their efforts. Thank you very much, and I would say good evening, and thank you for the Zambians and those who have followed us on the platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Father Pombo. And at this point, I want to thank my co-guests, Mr. Nason Bimbe, Dr. Barbara Chanda, Mukelebai, and Father Mpombo. Thank you so much for making this program such a wonderful program. I think it was a fantastic discussion. We've never had such a fantastic, positive, optimistic discussion. Before I close the program, just like any other members, I would wish to pass my sincere condolences to one of our main viewers. This person is always there on every program, making comments, raising stars. Mary Kingdom Changer, my sincere condolences on the death of your brother. Thank you so much, all the viewers all over the world, for your viewership. May the good Lord. There's something I wanted to say before I said that. One of the things I've just remembered in this conversation is that yes, there will always be conflict in every organization, but then we need to find ways of resolving that conflict in a speedily amicable manner. And I think the UPND government are listening to the complaints of its members, and as a result, there was a meeting this morning, Kolena Smwetwa, and one of the people, some of the members are agitating. They are saying should become the Secretary General, who is Mr. Maliteta. So they've acknowledged that, and that's a good start. Thank you so much for that. And at this point, I would say thank you so much to all our viewers. May the good Lord bless our country, Mother Zambia. Good night and bye for now.